And then now I'm going to transition into another study looking at deep brain stimulation. And so the nucleus basalis of Meynert is an area of the brain that is the main source of the corticocholinergic hub. And those sound like some big words, but essentially um, the corticocholinergic network is linked to cognitive symptoms. So this includes things like attention, memory, learning, visuospatial processing, and other key factors related to cognition. And so something that is of notable interest to our lab is connecting cognition with motor. And there's been previous research outlining how deficits in the cholinergic system can play a role in this relationship between impairment in cognition and impairment in certain motor domains, including gait. And so this is called the cognitive motor syndrome. And over here we have a few different figures, but essentially in the past we found that an aspect of gait variability, specifically variability in swing time, is both impaired in Parkinson's disease and significantly correlated with deterioration in this NBM area of the brain. And so what we're interested in looking at is how we can target both the cognitive and motor symptoms of Parkinson's disease that often develop. And so we're looking for participants who have clinically established Parkinson's disease and are potentially approved for subthalamic nucleus deep brain stimulation, as well as Parkinson's disease patients who also experience some level of cognitive impairment. And so this would include things like memory impairments or visuospatial processing impairments, things like that. And so the involvement in the study would involve the deep brain stimulation implantation, as well as some assessments following. The purpose of this study is to determine the safety, tolerability, and effect of combined DBS in the typical area, which is the subthalamic nucleus, as well as the area of the brain I mentioned, or the NBM, the nucleus basalis of Meynert. And we're looking at whether or not we can target both the motor symptoms and the cognitive motor features of this network. And so involvement in this trial would first require the deep brain and stimulation surgery. After that, we would have a baseline visit. And then from there, we would have visits every 6 months for 2 years involving these assessments. So the neuropsychological battery would assess the different areas of cognition I mentioned. We would have cognitive assessments, motor assessments, and a variety of questionnaires to see how the deep brain stimulation was affecting both the cognitive and motor symptoms over time. And so here's a long list of inclusion and exclusion criteria, but most importantly, if you have Parkinson's disease and are experiencing cognitive symptoms and are interested in learning whether or not you would be a good candidate for deep brain stimulation, I would recommend talking to your neurologist or a clinician and getting more information of whether or not you would be a good candidate. From there on, we would be able to determine whether or not you would be a good fit for our study. And so thank you for listening. Here's the contact information for our lab. You can email us at Bronte-Stewart Lab at stanford.edu or contact us via the phone number on the screen. And we are happy to provide more information about any of those 3 studies or anything else about any of the content I mentioned.
Great. Thank you very much, Prerana. If anybody has questions, just type them into the chat or the question and answer box. But thank you very much. So you talked about 3 studies. The first one was the QDG. The first aspect was in both of them, you take the device home with the iPad home. In the first one, it's a shorter period. It's only 2 days of testing. And in the second one, what's called the remote monitoring, it's a longer period of testing, right? And then the second was about SPRING, and that is a study of gait instability or freezing of gait, some kind of gait impairment, and it requires either, it requires people either having the Medtronic Percept implant or people on the verge of getting it or going to be getting it. And then the last one was about NBM, and that also requires DBS and is both DBS into the traditional area, the subthalamic nucleus, and also this other area thought to have some effect on cognition. Is that right?
That's exactly right.
Okay, perfect. Great. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.